Welcome to Ripple Impact. Today we have someone that will be talking to us about no other topic than join me, welcome Hellen Juma. Hellen Juma is a certified master life coach and a certified relationship coach. She has over 20 years of helping individuals and couples better their lives by mentoring and coaching. Her focus is in making lives of those around her better, if not excellent. She enjoys mentoring and coaching her two children who are in their teens and her nephews and nieces. She believes in starting the change from home going to the rest of the world. Helen is the author of Takes Two to Tango, How to Enjoy Lifelong Marriage, a book on how to develop basic marriage skills, and P.O.P.S.T.A.R sees your life center stage, a book on finding your purpose and featuring it. She is the host of Love Unlimited with Helen, a podcast that magnifies her passion and her drive for relationships. Welcome, Helen, to Ripple Impact.
Thank you. Thank you. That was
So,
good.
so Helen, I'm pretty excited to have you on this show this day. And like I said in the course of the introduction, there couldn't have been any better time to talk about what you will be talking about, what you are good at, and what you are best at. So, can you just kindly tell us why and how you got into marriage relationship coaching?
Why? The why starts with that's the foundation of who I am. The why is just why everybody exists. The why is because marriage is the foundation of humanity. If Adam did meet Eve, I don't know where we would be. If Cain didn't get children to get all those following children, I don't know where we would be. Even scientifically, forget religion. Let's not even talk about Adam and Eve. There has to be a male and a female, and they have to meet and do procreation, and our generations have to grow from there. However, that's very plain and it's put in the simplest form. Marriage is the building, the whole construct in which proper, not perfect, but proper
Mhm.
childbearing and child growth should happen. In Africa, we have a very common, very, very common adage that says it takes a whole village to raise a child.
Mhm.
They didn't say the other part. It takes a whole village to keep a marriage going. We have forgotten that. We have forgotten that. Every place where there's marriage, everywhere around the world, even in the most nomadic of the communities, whether you go to the Hoi Hoi in the south, the Khoisans, or you go to the Mongolia desert, all those communities come together for marriage or wedding ceremonies.
Mhm.
That means there's something special about marriage. It's only in the modern and recent years when individualism has been really put on the front, such that being selfish, being self centered, and doing whatever you want has become the adage of the day, that marriage has started taking the backdrop of things. Yet, without marriage, we will not be able to bring up children who are responsible, who are successful, who will also be looking forward to get married. Because if I don't have a reference point as a child about marriage, I am likely not to have any interest in it. And that's why you see the society as it is today. So, why did I start writing and being very passionate about marriage? I started because I realized one major societal pillar is falling and nobody's talking about it. No one. We are all about human rights. We are all about the environment. We are all about child rights. We are all about feminine power. Nobody is talking about the basic of all pillars,
Mhm.
marriage. Nobody. Again, in the world of perfect, what do we call that? There's this statement of best practices.
Yeah, best practice.
Everywhere. Best practices in business, best practices in acting, best practices in modeling, best practices in raising a child. Who is giving us the best practices in marriage? Not that many. There are books, but they are like far apart, like small dots in a big plain white canvas. There are not that many. And I'm not saying that I am the one who has written a book on best practices. No, I am by far not the right person to do it. But with the little knowledge and the little humble experience that I have gathered from myself, from those around me, I feel it's really about time that we sat down as a society, a global society for that matter, and looked at how best to rekindle the marriage relationships in our society. If not, this will just be the beginning of extinction of humanity, unless we come up with a way of making children in the lab without needing the man and the woman and them not living together and raising the same children in the lab. That's where we're going.
Wow, wow, such an insightful talk about marriage. Well, like you said, there has been best practices on science, on business, and very many aspects of life on how to improve, right? And all of that, but nothing much has been written about marriage. But
Yeah.
we are also very excited when we look at it from the religious aspect that the Bible has all the prescriptions for a successful marriage. But it's just that people are not either not willing or ready to go and research it and get that information. And that's where people like you come in who have extracted, I am sure, principles from the same book to and added it up to the experience you have had, a personal experience, to come up with such a book that could be put out there for everyone to read, both
Yeah.
Christians and non-Christians and the rest of us, to read and extract the basic best practices, like you said, that will help them to be successfully married. Otherwise, children will be created in the lab, so to say, and also raised in the lab. I don't know how possible that is, but of course, that's
If we
an
don't
insight.
create our home lab, which we were given by God, it doesn't matter whether you are a Buddhist, a Muslim, a Sanskrit, a Maoist, whatever religion you ascribe to. Marriage is the building, the construct under which children ideally are supposed to grow into.
I
Anything
absolutely.
outside of that is not ideal. It is okay because sometimes we have people who have single parents for some reason. It didn't work out. Maybe one of the parents died and the other spouse felt it's not good to have another partner to come and torture the children, or for some reason he or she feels adequate to do it. Or just like Joe Biden, he got the support of the rest of the larger society and he was able to get someone else who was good, and his own parents were in the support. If you have such a kind of a support, that's good. But if we are to follow the foundations, the manuscript, the blueprint of bringing up children, marriage is at the core, the center. Yeah.
Wow, wow. As a coach,
Yeah.
I know you have been seeing a lot of people with different experience in terms of marriage, and you've been advising and counseling them, and I'm sure most of them, after going through your program, they are able to either come back, and live a good married life eventually, learning from their experiences, and maybe others, as the case may be, if they're not able to get back because of the damage and the harm that may have been done. So what would you say is the biggest challenge you have helped one of your clients through in terms of marriage? What is the biggest challenge you have helped them, see through?
biggest challenge I have faced so far, and it has happened quite a number of times, not once, not twice, not three times, is people coming for coaching when they have already exited the marriage door. They have already left. They've already decided. They're already formed. Like we're not going to be together. But because the other one says, let's give one more try, the other one is like, I'm not even interested. But just because you said so that in case of divorce process, they will say they went for coaching and it didn't work. Just to get that part covered, they come already formed, already decided. So it doesn't matter how hard you try to make them work at it. Their hearts are not in it. You're just there for the formal part of saying they tried, so that even the larger society does not criticize them and say that they did not work at it. They did not want to solve it. They waited. The thing was, it broke, the egg yolk fell, and it's already a rotten thing. And they're bringing to you and hoping that you can fix it, knowing all too well they don't even want you to fix it. That's the biggest challenge, because when I put myself into coaching, for me, it's not business. I don't do it because of business. If it's business, I'd rather be outside making money in other talents. I do it because it's from the bottom of my heart, and I put my heart in it fully, 110%. I go in like it has to work, only to realize at the end, or maybe halfway through, I'm working with two people who are already apart. So usually I terminate the coaching. I terminate it right there and tell them, I don't think I can help you. I'm sorry. I think you guys are already formed. You've decided the way to go. There's no need of me wasting my time and wasting your time on this process. Just go ahead. And I usually feel very bad. Sometimes it makes me cry when I have to tell people that whatever they take, even if it's divorce, that's all right. I feel like a failure at some point, because marriage, my goal, my passion is to have them back together. But when it doesn't work, I feel like a warrior losing a partner in the battle. You feel like you're in the battle and you have now to battle it alone and stand and say, this thing still works. And you look at yourself, you're like, I'm all alone here. Nobody's shouting up, it works. They just left. That's how it feels at times. But there are those moments also that are quite satisfying. Nothing makes me happy as seeing a couple getting back together like they just went on a second honeymoon and like nothing happened, and they're happy and proud. And they eventually, most of them become my friends. They want me to hang around them just in case. I become like a guard dog, but I tell them, no, you don't need me. They're like, no, we want you in our lives.
Wow.
And after becomes a friendship, it stops being business relationship, it starts becoming a friendship. I try to withdraw at times because I want them to grow into who they're supposed to be. I'm not supposed to nurture them all the way through. I want them to learn to sort their own differences. I want them to have conflicts without me being there, and them also be able to sort it, like with the material and the skills that I've given them. So that's how it is.
Wow. So what you're saying basically is that when people come to you for counseling, they shouldn't come with a closed mind, right? They should come with the mindset that, well, let's go and give it all that it takes in order to rescue or to get the marriage back at the level where it used to be.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things, because if you don't know the what, knowing the how alone might not help you, right? So what are some of the challenges that people married couple face that eventually lead either to their wanting to be apart or even making up their mind at the end of the day that they don't want to go ahead with the marriage anymore? And what would be your advice for each of them that you will be mentioning to help our viewers prevent being or finding themselves in such a circumstance?
The first step, I always tell people, there is no problem that cannot be solved. None. Never. There is none. Because I believe I'm a Christian at the bottom of my foundations as a coach. And the Bible says you can never be tested beyond what you can handle.
True.
So coming from that premise, I'm like, you chose this guy, you've said I do together, you've lived together for so long. You didn't just discover that this guy is different or he's just becoming somebody that you can't handle. You chose this girl. You said I do. You took her home. You have children together. And all these challenges have started coming into your way. Does it make the woman a different person? Has the girl in her changed? Those are things we can deal with. And if you have lived together for long, some of these couples that come to me have been married for 5, 10 years. I'm like, come on, no, you can solve it. You've been in the same house for 5 years. You can solve it. You can absolutely solve this. The only ones I have most challenges in is 3 below 5 years, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. Why? Because they just got married. So the mistake may have happened not during the marriage, but during dating. They did not check each other out as they should have during dating, rushed into marriage, and 1 year or 2 years inside, they realized, I can't keep up with this. I cannot stay with this person. This is not the right person to marry. I made a mistake and I don't think I want to go on after this. Now, those ones below 5, those are the hardest to deal with because one, by the time they come, it's year 2 or 3. The honeymoon is not even over. So they realize that the mistake has just happened, or it has been happening, or they married a dream person hoping to change them within the first year, and the person doesn't change. So they decide to get out. So those are the hardest people. For me, I don't believe there are problems that are totally insurmountable. Drug addiction is totally, you can handle it. Porn addiction, you can handle it. Financial discipline can be coached back into discipline. If it's sexual issues, there are a million. Nowadays, they are all over. There are many sex coaches that deal with couples and teach them how to rekindle their bedroom flames, like in detail, however much you want. So what problem is there really that can make couples not stay together? None. There is none that I can say on top of the list, this is it. No. The only problem is when the couples themselves are not ready and willing to learn or to change or to grow. I prefer using the word grow than change because at a challenging point, people stop growing. That's when they start having these issues. When they go through coaching, they grow into the new persons, into new relationships. So if they want to grow, nothing is impossible. However, my newlyweds, those are the hardest nuts to crack when it comes to coaching. There are people who tell you it's easy, but I find them the toughest often. My advice to such people, before you get married, get to know your date thoroughly, as much as you can, inside out. Get to know his or her in-laws, get to know his or her friends, get to know his real business and his real name and his past. He might be coming into your house with a skeleton of a past that you can't handle. And when the ghosts of those skeletons start walking in your house, you start taking off. Find out who you're marrying. Yes, there are people who marry and 3 years down the line, they see another lady walking in with 2 children. And she says, well, you took my husband. She's like, no, I didn't. Yeah, you took my husband. We separated a year ago, and I understand now you married. Take your time. There's a song I like by Percy Sledge called Take Time to Know Her. I love that song. And anytime I'm coaching almost not newlyweds, but people who are dating, they do come for advice. I tell them, take time to know your spouse. Chapter 1 of my book, Two To Tango, talks about that, from dating to married. It gives details, many questions you should ask yourself, and you should ask your spouse or your date before you marry. Many questions, not 10, not 15, many questions. Because before you search yourself and you get into a marriage when you're not ready, chances are very high you will jump out quickly. So ask yourself, are you ready to get married? Are you ready to adjust your lifestyle? Are you ready to accommodate another being who will alter your schedules and your lifestyle? Are you ready spiritually to adopt another person's soul together with yours? All these questions. And then when you get on that dating point, ask everything. What's your faith? How's your father like? How is your mother like? Who are your best friends? What do you do when you're bored? When you get angry, how do you react? How do I respond? When was the last time you had a girlfriend? How did it end? Who was on the wrong? All these things will give you cues to who you're going to deal with. If you decide to say I do, I prefer to say I do is only one-way door. There is no exit. Get in it, and if it stinks in there, clean it up, the both of you. But before you get there, clean up the entry. At the entry, if you find that door is not for you, run the other way and you'll walk scotch-free. No guilt, no ghosts.
Absolutely. I truly, truly agree with you on that. And, of course, you have been married for many years. I have been lucky to be married for many years as well.
Congratulations.
So, oh, thank you. Thank you. So, but like you said, the beginning is where the major challenge is, because you find out that the couple, they are still having the hangover of their honeymoon. But from the moment the wedding is done, they've gone for the honeymoon and back, they start living in the same house, reality has set in. But they seem to forget, oh, he used to make breakfast for me in bed, or she used to make breakfast for me in bed. Not anymore. And I'm not happy, and I'm upset because of that. Why did he just change all of a sudden? These are some of the things that you face. The honeymoon phase is over. Reality has set in. You will not be in honeymoon forever. You have to face reality, and how you manage the reality will determine the length of your marriage. Of course, once you're married in the Christendom, you are meant to be together till what? Death do you part, based on the vow that you took. So, but there's always the situation that people go through all of this. Sometimes they even ask all of the questions that, the many questions, like you said, there shouldn't be a prescription as to how many. The many questions that is required to be asked, and they found or got satisfactory answers to them. I'm referring to both sides. But at the end of the day, they get into married life, and they discover that some of the things they thought they were already in control of, based on the fact that they've asked questions, they've done their thinking, they've gotten the right answers, the right cues, but it still is not working the way they had expected or planned it. The man is upset, the woman is upset, and now everyone is upset. Who? Because I believe for there to be peace, they say two wrongs cannot make a right. So, whose responsibility is it to try to keep the marriage together? People have different opinions about it. So let's hear from the expert right now. Whose responsibility is it to keep the marriage going?
That is a very good question. Thank you for asking. Now, it depends on your culture. That's where culture comes in. It takes a whole village to keep a marriage. In African culture, when there's a conflict between newlyweds, the extended family comes in and they bring in the issues at the table, they lay them bare, and everything is discussed. Nothing is left. So that if the couple is to go on, they know now how to handle the new challenge. Of course, that is a very bad place to start when you get married and you discover, oh, one of us was lying. That's very bad. It has happened to a friend of mine. And she got married in church, and the friend got saved to get her. Immediately on the honeymoon, the guy goes back to beer drinking and doing other things that were not right. Of course, the girl was heartbroken. I don't know how it ended. I never got to find out how it ended. But usually the bigger family, the extended family comes in to make it work. That if it's possible to patch it up. And usually the person who is a hypocrite is the one who is usually crucified. Let me put that in quotes, because both of them can see where the liar is and what's happening. And the family of the guilty party will be made to hold this person accountable for their behavior. That's how it happens in Africa. And I know that also happens in most of the pre-arranged marriages, like in Muslim and other African and Hindi communities. The marriage of the person who is the culprit, the family is given a warning, like you have to take your child, or if it's your son, you have to put your son in the right place, or else we'll demand our dowry and go. That happens. Yeah. And the other side, it can also be the girl, and that happens the same. They're told to take their daughter and coach her more. Sometimes they even separate her temporarily for more coaching to take place on both sides. And then they are brought back together. Now, that's where it takes a village to raise a marriage or to make a marriage work. What happens in the Western culture? That's the earliest, best opportune time to seek a marital counselor or a marriage coach. That's the first thing you should do. The moment you realize there's a problem like that, you need a coach ASAP. Because if you ignore that, that will be a seed for resentment, for disrespect, for temptations to cheat, for other vices that are not supposed to happen in the marriage setting, because someone has lied to you and you feel resented and you feel disrespected. So you might take a vengeance by doing another wrong. To avoid that, take your spouse by hand, go for coaching or go for counseling, whichever is. If the problem is so deep, really deep, you may need to go even on a retreat, maybe for 3 or 4 days, to go and have it really worked at. And if it doesn't work, there are times when temporary separation is recommended so that you can go back and see if you really want to commit to this relationship with the same deal that you handed your person before marriage. Temporary separation may be necessary if it's that bad. Usually, small lies do come up. They catch up in the end, but they're not that serious to warrant a separation. They can even be handled at the one-on-one level. Just tell the guy or the lady, you lied to me. That's one strike on you. Make that 3 and you're in trouble. And of course, nobody likes to be told you're in trouble by a spouse. Because, especially one who cooks your food. Yeah.
So that means, looking at it from what you've just said, a situation where the couple agree to, like, you confront your partner and say, well, this is what is going on. I think I'm not happy about it. I'm thinking, shouldn't that be the first thing before, even in the African setting? Of course, what you said about the African setting, I understand that and I know it, and even the Western setting. But I think there should be place for personal intervention. That is for the couple one-on-one, for them to try to resolve it on their own before involving either a marriage counselor or the family setting, as in the case in Africa and all of that. Because there are some times that bringing in a third party might not just help.
Yeah.
Right. So if you are able to keep your problems within your roof and handle it, and there is kind of repentance on the wrong path, yes, and you keep it going. One thing I really liked that you also mentioned is the fact that if both of you, instead of temporary separation, well, you can even create room for temporary temptation as well. It's better. It's better you take a journey together out, like you said, go somewhere fresh, somewhere new.
Yeah.
And you're there all by yourself. You're focused on yourself. And I believe doing that will help you to born again, and you resolve your issue and you come back even stronger. But of course, it all depends. Like you said, there is no easy answer to it, right? It depends on the circumstances, which of course you have explained and And I think
Yeah,
you
in
have
the
said it well.
mundane, by the way, I know in every dating, there will always be a lie or two. There will always be.
Mm,
There's always something that someone doesn't want the other person to know, just so he doesn't or she doesn't look bad,
mhm,
fall short of the mark that the date is setting. There's all those are there, but they're minor. They're really minor. That's why I said it's possible to just strike one and say, you lied to me on this one. You
mhm.
cheated on this one. You didn't tell me the whole truth on this one. You withheld it. But let them know. The first step is always to let your spouse know that you have noted that particular error. Let them know. Don't hold it in. That is not recommended. Tell your spouse that you have noted something has changed between the time you dated
Mhm.
and the time that you just got married. And if the spouse goes out and said, yeah, I lied to you, I'm sorry, I just wanted to have you as my wife or as my husband, and I just had to get there, I'm sorry, and it won't happen again. That's it. It's that easy. Forgiveness
Mhm.
is easy when you love someone. And even if you don't, forgiveness is the best part. It's the best gift you can give someone who
Oh
has
yeah.
forgiveness.
Mm.
Forgive. And people say, don't forget. I'll say this, forget. The
Forgive and
journey is
forget.
very long for you to keep scores.
Yeah.
Forget. The journey is too long. I don't
Mm.
know till death do you part what it means. It could mean 50 years from then, 70 years from then, maybe 80. How much will you keep scores of such small mundane errors? And even if they are big, come on. What's more important, the fault or the journey?
Mm.
Learn to forget quickly, especially on those things that don't matter, and focus on what really matters.
Mhm.
What really matters is your love with your spouse. It's the journey ahead. You'll have children, they will come, they will go. You have your parents, they will go. You have your relatives, they will come and go. In the end, it will be you and your spouse.
True.
And if you have not learned to appreciate each other's company at that early age, it will be very lonely later on. You'll be in the same house, but you look like two parts of furniture. You
Mm.
can't even talk to each other. So forget those faults. Grow into learning to forget.
Mm.
Don't keep scores. People say, don't
Wow.
forget. I look at them and smile. I'm like, you haven't gone a long way, honey. Wait, you will learn. You will learn. After 10 years, you can't keep track. You just forget.
Now we've been talking about the vices that come into marriage, the reasons for separation, the what to do and what not to do. It also gives me the opportunity to ask from your experience as a coach and
Yeah,
also as someone who has been married for a while.
yeah.
Is marriage a good thing?
It's a noble thing. It's noble. It is, I don't want to put it up there in the altar, but I'll say it's pretty close to the altar.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty close, very close. I don't think there's any religion, any faith, and I know people here don't ascribe to religion. So if you don't have faith of any kind on your basis, it will be hard to point your focus on marriage as a good thing. Because for you, anything works or anything doesn't work. But if you're a person of faith, marriage is noble. I will use the word like it is sacred because it's consummation of two souls becoming one, two bodies becoming one, two beings meeting to become one, to have unity of a ceremony of love for purpose of whatever God puts in them, whether it's procreation, friendship, partnership, whatever God puts in their lives. It is sacred. And people not appreciating that first part, that it's not only about the two of them, it's spiritual, as in it transcends the flesh. Once you realize that, it is really something important.
Wow.
People say it's a good thing. I'll tell them no, it's not good.
So marriage is actually an idea from God because
Yeah,
he said, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor. So God
yeah,
is the originator of marriage. And God is the originator of good things, right? His
All
plan
good
and
things.
purpose for mankind is good.
Yeah.
So it's humans that make marriage seem the way it seems, not because the idea or the concept itself is bad. Thank you so much for making that clarity.
Thank you. You're welcome. And by the way, it's not only humans who have the idea of marriage as a lifelong partnership thing. There are animals that join us in that journey. There are
Mm,
animals that mate with one mate or one spouse or one male or female for life, and they never cheat on them. So it's not only in human being. Why we have made it become so mundane, so detrimental, is so that our lasts can be honored. We
mm,
have to make something holy look dirty or look normal so that we can add our own dirty ideas onto it. Our lusts get in there, our vile desires get in there, our human drive gets in there, and then the sacred art, the sacred routines, the sacred whatever events that take place in marriage become useless. They become normal. It's like going for lunch and just leaving the date. It's not honored. No one is obligated to honor. So
mm.
it is humans, it is man who has watered it down so that worldliness can get in.
Wow. Mm. So, for those who are aspiring to get into marriage, what are some of the things that you advise them to, apart from the premarital
Yeah.
questions or during courtship, the kind of question they need to ask and all of that, while they're already in marriage? What are some of the things that they need to do
Uh,
on both parties? I'm talking about both parties right
both
now.
of
Both,
them.
yeah, both of them
Yeah.
to help
Apart from the
nurture the marriage.
questions,
Yes.
there's only one major thing that they need to both, at their own individual point, need to ask themselves. How much is marriage important to me?
Mm,
And if you can answer that question perfectly, honestly, from the bottom of your heart, the rest will work.
mm,
If you value marriage just for sex,
mm-hmm,
just for sex, it won't work.
mm-hmm,
If you value marriage just to have children, it won't work. No. The only purpose and number one purpose why people should marry is love and lifelong companionship. Lifelong companionship. Before you get married, ask yourself the question every pastor and priest asks them before they get married. Let's take this scenario, and I'm quoting one of the priests. If you are getting married to this person, and this person gets into a very bad accident and becomes a cabbage, you have to wipe this person, wash this person, feed this person, carry this person from the bed to the washroom and back. Would you still marry this person? If you can
mm,
answer that question, yes, then that person is right for you. But if you stutter, watch out. This is a challenge, is going to be a challenging relationship. You have to think the worst while still expecting the best in terms of marriage before you get in. If you
mm.
just paint everything beautiful and you get in and find, I'm missing my pink colors and my yellow colors and I'm missing my blues, you're going to have trouble.
Mm.
So even priests and pastors, those who do marriage, premarital counseling, they ask you that hard question. If your spouse was not to deliver what you wanted before, what will happen?
Mm.
So that's the number one question. Why is marriage important to you? How is it important to you? And what would happen if your spouse was not to deliver as you expected them? Those are the biggest and the only ones I'd ask them. If they can answer well those ones, I think they are ready.
Mm. Wow. You have been able to author 2 books,
Yes,
and you are the host of Love Unlimited podcast. It
yes.
appears to me you are such a busy woman. What motivates you to work this hard?
Love for life. Simple. Love for life. I love living, and I love living fully,
Mm.
fully. And not just living, I also enjoy loving. I love unlimitedly, like I said, it's coincidence. I don't withhold my love. And when I like something that I want to do, I put myself in fully. That's how I do my coaching. That's how I write books. That's what I put in my podcast. That's how I treat my husband. That's how I treat my friends. That's how I treat my children. Why? Because I believe in this mantra: if you can't be in fully, don't be in it at all. 50
Mm.
50 will never deliver. You
Mm.
either are in or out. How do I work around my things? I'm a juggler. I juggle everything, everything. And do I ever get overwhelmed? Yes, I do. Because people like me find it hard to say no, because if you love someone and you love helping people and you like stretching out, you're likely to stretch yourself thin. So to avoid that, I do have my times when I switch off, like I turn off the button and I'm done. And I tell the kids, don't talk to me. I tell my husband, I'm in my zone, and I put my meditation and my prayer. I take my book, I read in my bedroom, and I'm done. I'll take an hour or two to just reconnect with me, go to the roots of who I am. And other than that, I also have a routine every day. When I wake up in the morning, I pray, I do my meditations, I do my affirmations, and I do my morning exercise. That helps me with energy a lot. Then after that, I'm out like a bee off the hive. When I come back to the bedroom, I'm just crawling to sleep. If you talk to me 20 seconds or 20 minutes after I'm on bed, you're talking to yourself.
Already sleeping. Yeah. Nice.
Yes, and I
Nice.
enjoy that. I sleep well because I work hard during the day. I drain myself of everything God gave me for that day. When I go to bed, all I need is for Him to give me just the lashes to close and good slumber. I'm done with gratitude. That's how I work.
Nice. Interesting. So
Thank you.
can you tell us a bit about Takes Two to Tango and Popstar?
Takes Two to Tango is exclusively a marriage book. It's a workbook. At the end of every chapter, there are tasks for every couple to work on together. At the introduction, I have said this book is not meant to be read by one spouse to the exclusivity of the other. You're supposed to work on every chapter together because there are questions and tasks you're supposed to do together. The goal of this book was to bring couples together, refine and sort their issues together without confrontation, and write down what they need to write down, ask each other what they need to ask each other,
Mhm.
contemplate on things that they have been overlooking, and work on them together, and even bring to light things they have always ignored, and they can work at them together. At the end of the book, there's a recommitment deed. It's like a contract. After you've read the book together, it's like a small new marriage certificate that you write and sign and date, and you
Mhm.
say, we have recommitted ourselves to this on this date, and we are going to work with each other and at each other following these instructions that we have learned here. So it's a workbook. But after I started coaching and working with people, I realized there are people who come to the marriage carrying suitcases or baggages from their previous lives. You marry someone, you think, well, you know what? I married this guy, but I didn't expect this much surprise. I married this lady, but she comes with her whole clan of issues. How do you handle that? That's why I wrote Popstar. Popstar is not focused on couples now. It's about an individual. And how would I recommend people to read? Read your Popstar first before you go to marriage, because Popstar helps you refine. Not, I like to use the word sort yourself out.
Okay.
Maybe mixed up here. You don't even know what's important to you. You think you need to get married, but no, you're not even ready for marriage. You don't even know what you want. So Popstar helps you get those things in line. It helps it helps you prioritize what's important in your life at every moment, at every stage. So it's a brain teaser for people who want to refocus on themselves so that they don't carry confused baggage to their spouses.
Mm.
That's how these books came up. I think I jumped the gate fast, but I wouldn't have written Popstar if I hadn't written and started coaching actively with the Takes Two to Tango. After
Wow.
having couples with times, I'm like, ooh, this is not covered in my book. Ooh, I didn't talk about this. Ooh, this guy needs a lot of work. Ooh, this lady is not the right person. Let me go write this book. So I went back and I started writing Popstar. So Popstar is simply an acronym. It has nothing to do with music. It's actually, let me read it out to you here. It looks like this. Let me show you. It's right here. This is the book.
Mm.
So what it means, the P is purpose, O is objectives, the other P is power, S is being specific, T is time, A is accountability. A big problem in most marriages. People don't like being held accountable and they don't like being accountable either. And then there's realistic. And in this part of realistic, I'm splitting the hairs between being realistic, myopic, and pessimist, and being realistic while at the same time seizing your opportunities that you can achieve. So that's the book I wrote. And here's the precursor for that. Takes Two to Tango. I know it looks different here because of the screen, but that's the book. And the Takes Two to Tango title was a family project. That was not the title I chose for the book. So this is what happened. I come up with the book after writing. And I'm like, what do I call this book? Every title I came up with didn't sound good. So I called Patrick, my husband, my two teen boys, and my brother-in-law who we stay with. And I told them, let's all put votes on titles. We wrote a list of titles, and Patrick came up with Takes Two to Tango, and we voted. My title got 1, who I voted myself. This title got 4. So this title 1, Takes Two to Tango. That's Patrick's idea, actually. And then How to Enjoy Lifelong Marriage was the kids' idea, because that's what it is all about. It is about how to live a married life. So this book, although I collated the material, everything you see here was a family affair.
Mm. Nice. Wow.
Thank you.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, congratulations to you for
Thank you,
putting
sir.
those books together. It's not an easy thing to come up with an idea, start the process, and see it to the end. A lot of people have started writing books years ago and they'll get to certain chapters and they give up. And here you
I
are.
did a few of that too. I have a few books that I have gotten stuck because, again, one thing I learned is when you start something, never stop. If you can, even if it means writing one word a day, please do. The moment you stop, it becomes very hard to pick up the momentum again. So I know what it means to not finish a book.
Wow. So if we need to get the book, how do we find the book to buy?
The books are both available on my website.
Okay.
That is www.guruhellen, Helen has double L.com. And I'll spell it out. www.guruhellen.com. That's the website. Alternatively, you can even get a Kindle version and even the hard copy on Amazon.com. They are now available there. So whichever one looks easier for you, go ahead. Why do I guide people to my website? Because there are so many extras there. While you're on that website, you'll also learn that there are also courses that I teach, short courses. There are other free blogs, very many of them. There is podcast on that platform. So you get a lot of time to interact with what you are interested in. If marriage and relationships is what you're desiring to follow. So if you go to my website, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to fish out. There's so many nuggets. And if you're not careful, you'll spend a few more hours than just getting the book there.
Valuable time. So valuable hours. If you spend valuable hours to get valuable content, then it's not a waste of time, right? It's an investment.
Yes.
And yes, it's
Thank
an
you.
investment. So I like that. Helen, I would like to thank you so very much for being on this podcast today. And I have learned a lot from what you have said, and I believe our viewers have done the same. I would like to
Thank
say
you.
you're welcome. I'd like to say bye for now and see you some other time.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Have a wonderful session the rest of your time and happy Valentine's season.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful one as well.